Get ready.
Welcome everybody to the latest edition of Gullcast. I'm your host, Brendan Hall, and we have a very special guest, one of my favorite guests I think we've ever had here on this still young
Flattered.
podcast. But the man, the myth, the mad scientist behind our official uniforms for the
Yes,
spring
sir.
of 2025. Folks, there is not another college in the country doing a collaboration as unique as this. We're built different here. And here's one of the most unique cats, one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. Please welcome Paakow Essandoh. I hope I
Thank
got
you.
that last name correct.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. You
All
did.
right, cool.
You said it
Paakow,
perfectly.
you tell us about MIZIZI. This is the brand. Tell us about the inspiration for that. We'll start there and how you're enjoying your stay here so far at Endicott.
Yeah, by all means. So again, my name is Paakow Essandoh. I am the chief and founder of MIZIZI International. I started it 9 years ago whenever I was a junior at the University of South Florida.
Go
Uh,
Bulls.
Nice
Hell
little
yeah.
Bulls, yeah.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, man, it really started as a product of the search for my own identity. Originally born in Brooklyn, my family is Ghanaian. Ended up moving to Columbus, Ohio when I was 2 years old. Moved down south to Texas when I was 10. Ended up going to USF for undergrad. And as you can imagine, with each of those states, I went through my own identity crises.
Yeah.
So in each of those states, I kind of was like trying to figure out like, all right, who is Paco? And then by the time I got to Florida, I just saw how proud a lot of the islanders were of like the Caribbean heritage, and I felt like I wanted that same community. I wanted to feel proud as well. And so over the course of that like first freshman year, trying to really dive deep into figuring out, okay, what is it that I want to do? What do I like to do? I had a really hard time making friends, moving to a new state, especially for college when it's far from home. You don't have any family, don't have any friends. It makes it a bit difficult to find that community. So like through that, I started learning more about like, okay, what does my Ghanaian heritage actually mean to me?
Mhm.
Um, and I actually met a kid that was straight from Kenya, straight from Nairobi. He would wear the coolest stuff that we'd wear over here in the States, but it would have Kenyan fabric stitched into it. So whether it's like the pockets, the sleeves, pants, the whole nine yards. And if you know anything about Kenyans, they are pretty pretty lucrative people. They like to build businesses. And he kind of pushed me on the route that was less traveled. So I was originally going to school to become a pharmacist. I was getting my degree in biomedical sciences.
Yeah.
I can't say that I truly enjoyed it. I ended up taking time off of school after my freshman year at USF, and I went back home to Texas to really figure out like, okay, do I want to stay in Tampa? Do I want to go to school in Texas? What is it that I want to do? And I ended up working as a pharmacy tech at one of just a retail pharmacy.
Mhm.
Absolutely hated it.
My wife is a pharmacist, by the way, so she can completely empathize. She works at hospitals and
Yeah.
teaches actually at a college, but
Okay.
that
Okay.
retail stuff is a ride, so I completely
Retail
empathize.
pharmacies, they are, and granted, like I understand the necessity of them,
Yeah.
but working behind the counter, it's terrible.
Oh,
It,
it
yeah,
it sucks the energy out of you, doesn't it?
literally. And
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, I don't want to go back to school just to end up right back here.
Yeah.
So I got to figure something different out and figure out what it is I want to do. No other schools are willing to throw me any scholarship money. My credits wouldn't transfer from USF. So I was like, all right, let me just go back to USF and figure it out. And that's whenever I started taking MIZIZI a bit more seriously my sophomore year.
Mhm.
I ended up fleshing out like what it is the business plan looks like, who I was trying to target, where these markets were at, what was the biggest diasporas here in the US, and what was the best way to communicate with them on whether it's socials, email, just wherever they were at. And over the course of that next year and a half of really doing my due diligence, I I actually still couldn't find like manufacturing, and I was searching manufacturers across the states that would do everything from start to finish, from graphic design all the way to production, distribution. And every manufacturer that I found, they just told me I was trying to do too much and that I needed to downsize on my idea, or that the price points were just ridiculous. So I ended up trying to actually license the idea. I think licensing isn't something that people generally know about, but it's a huge industry that I think I mean licensing is kind of behind some of like gaming's biggest collabs, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I tried to license the idea of MIZIZI to different African apparel brands, whether they were here in the States, in Canada, in Europe. Everybody told me no. Everybody told me that it was a cool idea, but they just have too much on their plate. And it wasn't until the very last person that I pitched to, he was like, look, you need to find manufacturing overseas. Stop looking here in the States. So that's when I tried. I put out a few quotes. I realized I was getting quoted a tenth of the cost, anything that American manufacturers were charging me. I got some samples in and they were 10 times the quality. And I was like, oh snap, like this is the final piece. This is the missing piece that I need. So I set up a photo shoot in Dallas and I officially launched Mazizi on August 30th, 2015, and I haven't looked back since.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Tell me about why like okay, I look at these jerseys. Um, I've never seen anything like this stuff. My personal
Thank you.
favorite, I don't know what Hector feels like, but my personal favorite is Coming to America.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Zamunda
the
jerseys.
Prince of Zamunda,
Yeah,
yes, right. As a tweener Gen X millennial guy who grew up on Arsenio and Eddie Murphy, it's a
yeah,
special place in my heart.
yeah.
Like what? Tell me
Classic.
about the inspiration through all these. I mean, there's some pretty. If for those watching who are want to look at these stuff, I mean, these designs are just incredible. The Ghana one, awesome. Somalia, all those.
Thank you.
What like? Tell me about your creative process with designing these.
So I will say I'm not a designer. I don't have any drawing. I have a small drawing ability, but
Yeah,
nothing like crazy.
yeah.
We have a designer that's based in Ghana. His name is Kofi.
Mhm.
He's the one with the creative brilliance. I've
Yeah,
always kind of outsourced the designs.
yeah,
With me, it's just let me come up with the concepts. Let me do the due diligence in figuring out the research. What are the small nuances? I call them Easter eggs that we can include in the design that when people get a real good look at it, it's like, oh, this guy gets it. Like he's actually he's hip. So yeah, so anytime we're about to do a jersey design for whether it be a country, a culture, or a movie,
yeah,
I just immerse myself completely in the culture. I learn as much as I can. I talk to as many people as I can, try to get as many diverse perspectives so that when we're going into the actual design process, I'm able to feed our designers like, look, you should add some gold feathers because we know that if people see that they're going to love it.
yeah.
Or we should add the McDowell's logo because anybody who's seen the movie knows exactly what McDowell's is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like those small nuances that really connect people with the design, that's my bread and butter.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a good segue. You mentioned about feathers. Let's talk about the work that went into this jersey here. Uh, Tell me about the process, because if I recall, when you first presented this to our president, he was like blown away, right? And Hector can attest to that behind the mic here. What went into the thought process with the way you guys designed this? You know, esports is a unique. Honestly, for me, esports, one of the huge attractions is that untetheredness of the branding, really kind of exploring the limits of what it is. You see a lot of
Mhm.
really unique stuff in the college space, in the pro space. This is certainly up there with it. Take me through your design. I don't imagine you do esports that often, so I'm curious how, like, what the process was for thinking of
Yeah.
something like this. Yeah.
So personally, I'm a gamer myself. I grew
What's
up
your
a
favorite color,
gamer.
by the way? Let's before we get that.
Ooh, so I have, as of right now, I've been diving deep into all things Fortnite.
Yeah, let's go.
Uh,
We are overwhelmingly a Fortnite school.
okay.
We're currently in top 15 right now in the ECAC after
Oh
week
wow.
one.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, if you go down to the lab in a little bit, it'll everybody's grinding on Fortnite. It's pretty
Really?
awesome.
Yeah.
So
So I've been fascinated by all the collaborations, all but like the physical collaborations, right? The consumer products,
yeah,
the whether it's clothes, accessories, jewelry that Fortnite has collaborating with brands to come out with.
yeah.
It's just phenomenal. I don't know any other gaming IP that's doing things quite like Fortnite. And they're really pushing the space forward with at the intersection of gaming and fashion. Um, but in regards to the goals jersey, I so first I asked Hector, right? I was like, what are the things that people, when they see Endicott, what do they think of? What are the small things that we can include in the design that to make sure that people are like, okay, this feels representative of my school. So of course we had to add like the school's colors, the blue, the green, the white. And then even getting feedback from you, right? Like
Yeah.
saying that we would like a more futuristic font, something that's a bit more stand out from the typical collegiate or varsity kind of font that we typically see on like college gear.
Yeah.
And then adding the feathers, the small things that were like, okay, like anybody that sees the jersey and can look deeply into the design, like, oh, this guy, he understands, we're a goal family over here. And yeah, so just kind of doing through that and through a few design iterations, showing people whether it's the staff or the students, getting some feedback, seeing what they like. We were able to land on this design and present it to you today.
Well, that's amazing. I do want to expand on Fortnite now that I'm learning here that you're a Fortnite guy. Because we've gone, I think since we first met, we've gone from 3 varsity players to 16. We're one of the only college programs in the country that's got a women's varsity.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we're
Congratulations.
trying something tonight unique. We're recording this on February 4th. By the time this comes out, I think we'll have a full fledged. But we're trying something called Go Zone tonight, where we got.
Okay.
So tonight is week 2 of zero build duos,
Okay.
and we're gonna have all 4 duos on a red zone style screen, and we're just gonna keep
Okay.
switching from end game to end game as they come.
Yo, that's incredible.
So like I don't you go around, you go to like Shenandoah, Syracuse, but they have some pretty sophisticated broadcast setups, but I just think what we do is so markedly different. And one of the real discoveries was just what a Fortnite school this really is when we roll it out.
Yeah.
I want to get more into the ring because you are right on the money. I completely agree with you about their IP. It's a unique way of doing business, I think, right? So you look at like franchises like Call of Duty, like Madden, you're paying $70 a year for, let's be honest, incremental changes.
Yeah.
And I think
Small
there's some
mistakes.
sort of inherent risk aversion there because it's like, well, we have this section of the market that is just giving us money every year. We don't want to disrupt that.
Yeah.
And it kind of sandpapers innovation, whereas Fortnite says, hey, this is free. You can play it on your freaking cell phone if you want.
Yeah.
And there's no cost to you, the consumer, just putting the game down.
Yeah.
So
Unless you
they're
want to
motivated to constantly change the map, right? I just saw that they dropped a leak the other day that their next season starts in a couple weeks going to be bank heist theme. This season it was Japanese samurai theme. It was totally awesome. And then the collaborations, right? And so my big thing, I've talked about this at conventions and stuff. So they make 5 billion a year, I believe, in metaverse transactions. Isn't that blow your mind?
That's
right.
That's nuts.
So and it's just through metaverse transactions, so in-game purchase. And when you look at the value of immersive experience, right, and the amount of time spent in a Fortnite map versus like I don't know, does MIZIZI ever do like paid social ads or anything like that?
Yeah, we have in the past.
So like what are the when you do a paid social ad, and I'm a big believer in paid social, and I teach a lot about it in my marketing class, but like what does success look like for you guys? Like is it right?
I think at the end of the day, in regards to paid social, it's conversions. I think
Yeah.
that we've kind of built the brand equity enough to where we have established the awareness.
Yeah.
It's now how do we continue pushing people through that funnel to get them to actually buy and
Yeah.
spend.
Yeah. So I guess the point I make when I bring this up, and like, when I would do digital ads, like video ads, if they watch more than 3 seconds, that's a W.
Yeah.
What would you rather have though? 3 seconds or 15 minutes to immerse with your product?
Oh, 100% 15 minutes.
Right. So that's that's why I'm very bullish on a Nike Kicks thing they added.
Yeah.
Have you bought any kicks yet in Fortnite?
I haven't bought too much V-Bucks yet. Usually it's for my nephew if I'm spending money. But the more cosmetics that they add, the more I'm just like,
yeah,
damn, maybe I should just swipe the card a few times.
I've already bought 2 and my wife's gonna kill me. It's okay. Carolyn, love you. Thank you. I love your thoughts on the future of that. I think the Kicks thing is just such a home run, and obviously it's still early in that experiment, so remains to be seen what kind of conversion that does for a brand like Nike. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about this stuff.
Yeah, I think that as the gaming especially esports industry becomes more developed and more mature over the years, you'll see an increasing importance on how people are represented both in game and out of game. I think esports players, streamers, whoever the case may be, they want to look good while they're playing, while they're on stage, while they're competing, which is why you kind of see that jersey fandom starting to build with brands like Puma and such, really getting into the ecosystem. But in the same vein, you'll see the people want to look cool in game. You know,
Yeah.
they want to when they're hanging out with their friends, they want to have the flyest skin. They want to actually just feel like they're cool, essentially. And I feel like Fortnite has been steamrolling the way in regards to how we can make this an actual viable business in regards to cosmetics.
Mhm.
I think games in the past have so I don't know if your listeners are hip to MapleStory.
Maybe a little bit.
It's like a desktop RPG from I want to say Korea. Um,
I'll ask our work study war for our about this later. She plays RPGs all the time. I know
Really?
that. Yeah, yeah.
So I grew up, started on Neopets,
Yeah,
ended up going to RuneScape, then transferred to MapleStory. I was a desktop kid for the longest growing up,
yeah.
and you kind of saw in the beginning there, they had their own way of like, okay, you can purchase cosmetics for XYZ, and that way you can get some unique in-game exclusive. And I think that as time has just developed and you're kind of seeing these games blow up, you'll see an increasing importance on good looking cosmetics, not just ones that they can kind of just throw in, but ones that people actually are crazy for and about, and becoming more and more exclusive as they become more and more popular.
Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome. Do we want to get in the lightning round quick?
let's do it.
Cool,
Let's do-
cool. So I have to always preface this because I feel like every time I do this, our guests they just love the questions so much they go off on a tangent, and so we call it Thunder Round, right? It's a rolling
Yeah.
thunder, right? So we'll start off with this, Paco. And
Shoot.
I see you beaming already. Okay, what is the worst advice you ever got in your career?
I should only do t-shirts.
And look where we are now.
Who would have thought? Would have thought. Yeah, whenever I was a sophomore and I was really kind of trying to tinker on the idea of MIZIZI, I had the idea of sports jerseys just because I had never seen any like African or cultural themed baseball jerseys before out there. So it's like, okay, I see a hole in the market. But when I kind of shopped the idea around and I spoke to a Ghanaian professor at USF and I'd asked him about like just what he thought of the idea, he was like, "This is cool, but I think you should do t-shirts." No, just like, I don't think you get it." So as you can see, I didn't really take his advice, and yeah, it led me to here 9 years later.
I'm gonna throw a couple off script lightning questions here because
Okay, of
you are a Brooklyn guy.
course.
Where in Brooklyn you live right now?
I'm in Park Slope.
Park Slope.
Yes, yes,
Wow,
yes,
wow.
yes.
That's where the hip art comes in for you.
I feel like New York is one of those places that you have to be prepared. I don't think I dressed as well as I used to before moving back to the city.
Yeah.
But now you never know what you're going to see or who you're going to run into when you're just
Well,
walking
this
down the
is I don't
street.
know if you are a Malcolm Gladwell fan at
Of
all.
course, tipping
So do
point.
you remember his tip? I think it was this was in Tipping Point. We talked about all the kids wearing hush puppies in the East
Hmm.
Village.
Hmm.
And how this one neighborhood really started being leaned into for fashion trends. Like
Yeah,
that's a New York thing. Like it's its own planet, its own ecosystem.
a
It
hundred
really is.
percent.
I want to ask two New York questions that may or may not start a fight here.
Okay.
Okay, best slice of pizza in New York and best barbecue.
Oh, so I can't say I've tried barbecue in New York just because I'm a Texas guy. I don't want
Okay,
to. My
yeah,
standards are a bit high.
that's like line personally, right? Yeah, so okay,
Um,
because I do want to give a shout Hill Country Barbecue in Manhattan. That place is unbelievable.
that's your
Yeah,
spot.
yeah, that's my
Okay,
spot.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to give it
so
a try.
yeah,
Again, I have high standards, so I'll let you know what I think.
all right, cool.
Um, Best pizza though, there's a spot called Rosa's. They have like a Diavolo pizza.
Yeah.
It's like uh, it's like a margarita, but it's spicy. Um, that's me and my girls go to. Like we absolutely love it. That's my spot. So,
What is an unpopular opinion that you stand on? Doesn't have to be esports related.
my unpopular opinion is that I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
It's not unpopular.
When you come from Texas, sometimes
Oh,
it
God.
is.
Being a Boston guy, I just can't bring myself to root for either team.
Understandable.
I'm rooting for a forfeit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm rooting for Kendrick Lamar. That's what I'm rooting for.
Okay.
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 I'm rooting for
So
Kendrick.
you were a Kendrick Lamar over Drake guy.
Who isn't? No? Come on.
It definitely depends on where you're at. I've been in cities where like they're just bumping Kendrick, like not like us, like um
So this is your
well,
unpopular opinion, you because you're about to say Drake over Kendrick, aren't
I
you?
mean
You're about to say Drake over Kendrick.
I will
Paco,
say
Paco.
I
I love you,
will
man. Come on.
say I have listened to more. Don't get me wrong, he lost the battle.
Yeah.
Or at least from
Okay.
my opinion, he
Yeah.
lost the battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have more Drake saved on my phone than I do Kendrick. And I feel like Drake is he's a bit more of a you can listen to him across any mood as opposed to Kendrick. You kind of have to be in a specific kind of mood
You have to
to
be at the gym, you know?
yeah,
You have to be at the gym. You're playing damn on repeat, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. What's a prediction you have for the future of branding, marketing, all that good stuff?
I truly think that gaming is going to be the next frontier. I think that you're going to see an increasing investment in brands partnering with games and doing those kind of physical collaborations so that they can have that players can have what they're wearing in game, but as well as out of the game in physical and real life. And I think that again, uh, Fortnite has been spearheading the way. And even after doing my research, I've learned of a company called IMG, who are primarily known for like IMG models or IMG Academy,
Right.
but they also have IMG licensing and they hold some of like the world's biggest license.
Yeah.
I've
They
learned,
dominate college sports too. Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
truly do. And I learned that they hold Epic Games license.
Yeah.
So they're the ones who are kind of driving and spearheading all of the physical collaborations that are happening in real life for Fortnite.
Yeah. Also, Disney last year making a 1.5 billion dollar investment in Epic Games.
Yeah,
That opens up an entirely new world. Should they, and they already go down that route with the Marvel IP, the Star Wars stuff, but that just opens up an entirely new frontier for more ecosystem, more world creation.
exactly.
So,
Exactly. And Disney, they're a behemoth,
right.
especially with how much IP they have. So I'm excited to see just what collaborations truly come in the future.
Yeah. One of my favorite Fortnite skins, by the way, is the Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah,
You can't go wrong with that,
classic.
right? What I'm going to throw a USF Bulls one at you here.
Ooh.
How do you think they're looking for the future? What do you think of the future of the American Athletic Conference?
That is a tough one.
That's some tough questions today,
I'm
bud.
not gonna lie to you, Brendan. I lost a lot of faith in the Bulls, especially whenever I had attended USF, because our freshman football team didn't win a single game the year that I attended. So after that, I was truly kind of put off. I still love my school, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but I can't say I've kept up with the current program and how they're doing just because I wasn't inspired
yeah.
at the time when I was
It,
there.
it seems like it should be a home run. Like the dirty little secret about Florida recruiting is even after Miami, Florida, and Florida State get their guys, there's plenty of talent left over, right?
Literally, like look at how UCF and how much talent's coming out of that
UCF,
school.
perfect example. Well, and this is a whole nother conversation, but like I think UCF is one of the most brilliant branders in college sports. I think everything they do is really, really creative.
I probably shouldn't have said that on radio just because.
Yeah, that's fighting words. I know that fighting words to say anything nice about UCF for you guys, but I had to have my little moment. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
actually down. I spoke at a conference in Orlando during the summer, and there's billboards everywhere down there reminding you of how many alums worked on the college football 25 game for EA Sports
yeah.
for
Uh,
UCF. So they take a lot of pride in that. But I think some of the stuff they do. The billboards they put around campus. It's too bad Gus Malzahn moved on because his whole Waffle House shtick I get
yeah,
a huge kick out of,
yeah,
and Orlando that probably plays really well,
yeah.
right? But it just seems like years ago, almost feels like 20 years ago at this point. I think they were like number 2 in the country at one point. It just feels like it should work there so easily because of how homegrown the talent is right down. You
Florida.
you can
Yeah,
go to Tampa Plant High School and get your entire recruiting class if you're USF. So
right.
I don't know. I remain bullish on all those Florida schools for that reason. But
Bullish. Dun, dun,
oh,
dun.
walked in and out, didn't I? Final lightning round question as we go thunder round. What advice? What's the most important piece of advice you would give to entrepreneurs here, students here looking to build their own brand?
I would say that so one of the mantras that just kept me pushing throughout this whole entire journey is that the acquisition of knowledge is a catalyst to progress.
Hmm.
Um, Regardless of what your current field is or current experiences, you can get anywhere that you need to be by taking the time to learn about it, whether it's through books, scripts, podcasts, TV, interviews, whatever the case may be. The information is out there. It's just a matter of you actually taking the time to seek it, to learn it. And when you learn it, you have to apply it. And when you apply it, you tend to surprise yourself. So
Henry Longfellow couldn't have said that better. That's wise. That is incredibly wise. Um, I want to spin this back to esports, and I got to be honest. A couple years in, this is I don't know if I've ever worked for an industry that pays this much attention to merch sales as esports. And it's also one of the attractions, I think, because of that collaborative nature and just the untetheredness. Traditional sports teams are so guarded with their brands and how they
yeah,
present. And NBA teams, I think, because of the Nike infusion, they've gotten more liberal, but traditionally they're very conservative with how they present a
present
brand.
themselves.
And
Yeah,
esports, they're completely the other end,
it's the Wild
right?
West.
You look at 100 Thieves, right? All their collaborations. Space Station Gaming does some really off the wall stuff that's
Mhm.
cool, really
Yeah,
cool. Um, but you also see some crash and burn, I think, especially in the pro scene. Um, let's be honest, for all the coolness, the swag of merch sales, fulfillment is expensive, right? Production is expensive. You can really run yourself into the red really quickly if you're not careful.
it's true.
What is it about? Like, are there some universal truths with this stuff that you adhere to? Like why? It's kind of it's a puzzle we're trying to solve in esports, and I'm curious your perspective.
I feel that it's a tricky one, right? Because
Okay.
I don't know if, and I don't want to get like burned at a stake. Um, I don't know if the gaming audience has the most expendable capital to spend on things that aren't utility. I've seen
Yeah.
that gamers, if they're spending money, it's usually on hardware so that they can increase how well they play,
Yeah.
or just how immersive they're getting with the game. And I've seen that gamers don't spend as much on fashion. This is just point blank period is what I've seen.
I'm gonna do. I will say from working a couple Call of Duty majors, some of those pros carrying around Louis bags,
Yeah,
Balenciaga
yeah.
shoes. I think it does vary a little bit.
Not
I'll push back a
granted.
little, but to your general point, yeah, I think so.
And
Oh,
I think that's also because a vast majority of gamers are also, I mean, granted, gaming spans across all ages, but you
right.
also see a vast majority of gaming is a younger generation. And again, they're getting their money from their parents and not necessarily having as much capital. And when it comes to like, all right, do I want to spend money on a $200 headset to where it has like I'm forgetting the name of the feature. Noise cancellation,
Yeah,
or do I want to spend $200 on a jersey that I think will look cool and I know my friends will give me props for it, but it may not necessarily last or provide as much utility as the headset may.
maybe the dopamine wears off after a little bit, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So I think that has been one hurdle. I don't think that's, and again, I'm speaking in like blanket statements. I don't think
sure.
that it necessarily applies to everybody, but that's kind of what I've seen. And yeah, I also think that like not to say that brands haven't been doing cool stuff. I think that the industry is just still has some maturing to do.
Absolutely.
And with time we'll get there, but it's just going to take some time and
Yeah.
investment from all stakeholders, whether it's these brands or it's the gamers or it's the production companies themselves. It's going to take a full-fledged effort from everybody to make sure that businesses are profiting all around.
I sometimes call it, and I kind of get hit for this one sometimes, but like I call it like it's punk rock phase,
Yeah,
right? You're New York City guys, so you know the Ramones and Velvet Underground, and all that stuff.
yeah,
Unbelievable music, right? But their tours were chaotic. I mean, right? CBGB and Master Kansas City are held up to as these like Taj Mahals. They were absolute dump like venues, right? It took time to mature. The product was amazing, but then comes the 90s, you have your pop punk, your Blink-182 and your Green Day, and suddenly it's a financially viable market.
Yeah.
I saw Green Day last summer at Fenway. It's one of the coolest shows. I'm not the hugest Green Day guy, but I can appreciate a good show. And
appreciate talent.
Yeah, I appreciate talent. And I think sometimes these things need time to mature once they understand. Like I must have had a call about a year and a half ago. Some consulting company that was looking to take over an old auditorium in Worcester, and they asked me, "Is this something that the city demands?" Right, you're talking about esports, and I'm like, they don't know they need it yet.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the cell phone. Right. So I do think I'm as bullish as you. There we go again, bullish. No, I think it's totally fair. I think sometimes this stuff just takes time to mature.
Yeah.
In reality, right?
And like you're seeing it growing. You're seeing like all the investment that Saudi Arabia has invested in the Saudi esports tournament. Or you're seeing just different countries starting to develop their own homegrown esports talent.
Yeah.
It's going to take time. It's going to take. It's going to get worse before it gets better, but it's going to take money. And as long as people stay committed and they still push that excitement to others and invite people to kind of join this ecosystem and get them hip to games, get them hip to the industry, it'll only go up. So.
Paakow, we're running up on. I think we're running up on time, a good pace. But any final thoughts here before we break?
Man, nothing immediately comes to mind. I'm just excited to be here. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. And I'm excited to see how your gamers perform.
Cool. For people looking to follow your work, what you do, what you want to plug, anything?
Yeah, by all means. So MIZIZIshop.com, MIZIZISHOP.com. And then we're MIZIZI Shop across all social media. So again, it's MIZIZISHOP.
Awesome. Paakow, this is an amazing conversation, buddy.
Mr.
Glad to finally meet you in person here, friend.
It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming, man. Appreciate you coming in. Hector, appreciate you behind the mic filling in. For now, for Paakow, this is Brennan Hall at Gullcast signing off. Thanks for tuning in.
Go Gulls.
Go Gulls. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to follow us at Endicott Esports. See you next time.